You've landed inside the bubble with Harli G, a podcast for the superwoman. I am a mother, wife, and ambitious career woman who realized one day that part of me was unfulfilled. I launched this platform to help other women discover and walk in their ultimate purpose through shared stories of trials, fear, dreams, courage, grief, and triumph. No matter who you are or where you're from, there's purpose in your story. Insiders, Inside the Bubble with Harli G is sponsored by BetterHelp. As a partner of this episode, listeners can access the BetterHelp link located in the show notes to receive 10% off your first month of therapy with BetterHelp and get matched with a therapist who will listen and help. Therapy has been such an integral part of my purpose journey, and I'm sure it will benefit your journey as well. Go to BetterHelp, that is betterhelp.com/inside the bubble to get started. This episode is also brought to you by Farmers Insurance. When was the last time you've reviewed your insurance policy? Like who does that? Or when was the last time you could call your insurance agent directly with an emergency? Well, I was actually able to do that. 2 years ago, my garage caught on fire, and I was able to pick up the phone and talk to the one and only Austin Brummett on the phone immediately. There's nothing like peace of mind knowing that you are talking directly to the agent. So my friends at the Austin Brummett Agency would love to hear from you and provide you with the same amazing service that they provided me. Give them a call at 678-402-8262 or email them at abrummett@farmersagent.com. Lastly, are you thinking about buying a car but dreading the process? I will tell you that's why I have a husband, so he can handle all of that. But Car Official is changing the game. Car Official believes the car buying process should be transparent, informative, and even, wait for it, enjoyable. Their experts are here to guide you, provide you with clear information and honest advice. No fancy jargon, no pressure, just a helping hand every step of the way. Whether it's understanding your financing options, getting clarity on fees, or simply finding the perfect car for your needs, they've got you covered. Visit them today and see the difference for yourself at 770-627-4296 or at www.carofficial.net. Welcome to season 3 of Inside the Bubble with Harli G. I'm your host, obviously, Harli G. And I am so excited today to talk to this amazing young lady that I've actually recently met and has an incredible story. Season 3 is really about what does faith look like when you're on that journey to purpose? So we're having conversations with individuals that have been truly being able to exemplify what that looks like for them and help define. And sometimes it's raw, sometimes it's challenging, sometimes it's rough out there in those purpose streets. But the commonality of these individuals that I've spoken to is that at the root of it, at the base of it, the foundation is that no matter how bad it might seem or how tough or how challenging, that faith is what keeps you moving forward towards that journey of purpose. And so today I have the wonderful Kai with me. And Kai, if you don't mind telling our listeners a little bit about yourself and what you do, I would love for you to do that.
Well, I'm Kai. And I'm in a place where I can say I'm living. And it took a minute for me to get here. I have a company called Snobb Official, and it is bringing purpose to life. Also, it took a while for me to get here.
Okay.
but it feels so good,
So good.
so good that I'm here. So, um, it's baby steps for me. I am a mom, a wife. Um,
You trying to figure it sounds like you're just like the rest of us, you're just trying to figure out this journey of purpose.
absolutely.
You did mention your company name named Snob, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So, not to talk about all my other guests, but you came to the podcast recording bearing gifts, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And so you actually bought one of your shirts.
Yes, ma'am.
So for the listeners that are listening right now, if you go to the YouTube channel, you'll be able to see the visual. But she brought me this amazing shirt, and it says like she said her company is Snob, but it's what's written underneath it that really caught me. And so Snob stands for standing notoriously unbelief and boldness. Wow. First of all, I want to know, how did you even come up with that?
So, the definition of snob in the dictionary, right, is someone who feels that they're better than someone else, or feels that, or I guess some people call it bougie or however. um, I do feel like I'm better than someone else. I feel like I'm better than the woman that I once was. Okay. And that came with growth. Um, when I look back at things that has happened in my life, and meeting the wonderful woman that brought us together, she asked me something and she said, "What is your purpose?" At that very moment, I did not have an answer, but I wrote it down and I wrote it down and I wrote it down until I had an answer, right? Um, I just knew that moving here, because I'm not from here, I'm different. Something clicked, something snapped, and God moved. And when He moved, He pushed everything that I knew and that I once was out. It was no longer necessary. And sometimes we hold on to things because we feel like we're going to forget who we are, forget where we came from. And that's not necessarily the case. It's just that we need to move upward. We need to do something better. We need to do something new and something fresh. Anything fresh makes you feel good, right? So that's where Snob comes
That is so interesting that you say that. Like he will push you when you don't want to be pushed. He will do it, right? And I was actually listening. I'm actually in the middle of listening to a sermon right now by Creflo Dollar. That's called "Finding Your Purpose in the Uncomfortable." So getting used to being uncomfortable, getting used to being in that uncomfortable space, because that's really where the growth happens. That's really where the process happens. That's really when he's ironing you. He's prepping you for what is to come. And so we want to get to the end. We want to get there, but we want to get there with no trials, no tribulations. No, we want to be comfortable about it. We just want to get there the easy way. And what he's telling us is, it's not going to happen. It's not going to be easy, because I have to get you uncomfortable for that growth to happen, for you to be able to get to where you need to get. And so when you said he pushes you, he does that. He absolutely pushes you. So you mentioned that you moved here from somewhere. How was that journey for you? Because oftentimes we may be sent somewhere and we're hard headed. We're like, no, I don't really, I don't know. That's not for me, right? And so for you, what did that look like?
So I'm from Michigan, and I've been in Michigan all my life. I haven't had, excuse me, the opportunity to kind of travel too much outside of in adulthood. So one morning, I woke up and I was on my way to work, but I woke up in a funk. Like I was complaining, I nagging, and just to myself between me and God, and I'm like, really, God, like I just had this way about myself, and it stank. Like I'm not gonna, I'm not
Good
gonna.
aware. You know, sometimes you have to recognize where you are.
And that's, I'm telling you, that's being here, reflection. Like, oh girl, that was ugly. You know what I'm saying? But so I got up. I was getting ready for work at this time. I was working in a urgent care clinic, and so I was getting ready for work, and I was complaining the whole morning, just complaining. Got in my truck that God had just blessed me with. Still on my way to work, complaining. I hit the freeway and blacked out. Absolutely blacked out. God showed me in those 45 minutes, how long it took me to get to work normally, the good, bad, ugly, and real, real rough parts of my life. And it's different when you see it as a playback, as a movie. It's like you know what you've been through, and it makes you tougher, and you got to sit up straight, and you got to, but when you actually see it play out, and it's like, I'm still here. Like, in my right mind? Like you checking all your pulses. Like, I made it through that. When I came to myself, I was at work. I do not know, and I'm not questioning it at this point. But I was at work, sitting in front of the building, and I normally park in the back, so I was sitting in front of the building. It was like someone had threw a bucket of water on me. I was shaking, I was crying, and I was drenched. And I was like, why? Like, okay, we been there, done that. Like, still with this little nasty attitude. And it was just like, okay, I'm going to tell you what. You got 90 days to leave Michigan, or I'm going to take everything from you. And this time, I won't give it back. And it was with that like, it was just like so raw. And I was just like, well, you know how if your father say something to you and he's stern about it, you're like, well, excuse me, why are we talking to me like this? Like, and that's how I felt. And I was like, 90 days. I was like, it's 3 months. What am I doing in 3 months? Like, I got a whole life here. I got a whole family. So now I'm making excuses, right? And I'm like, okay, what is the point of this? It has to make sense to me. Everything in my life at that point, I question, because it got to make sense. You got to make it make sense, or I'm not listening. And that was just how I was. And so my husband called. He's like, well, did you make it to work? Like, what's happening? I said, yeah, I made it to work. He's like, you okay? I'm like, I was like, well, we moving. He was like, what? I was like, yeah, we got to move. He like, oh, why? What happened? Like, something happened. I was like, God said we got 90 days to move. And it just got silent, like crackling silent. And he said, okay. Where does that happen?
Right.
What?
But that's the thing about him. He is all about the impossible. For him, it's like that's how he works. He works in that impossible lane where it just seems like there is absolutely no way. How is this going to happen? I need more details. And me, I need to know, like, okay, so this is where we're going. Okay, well, how is this going to happen? It's not for you to know. He just wants you to have that blind faith so that he'll be able to, so that will be a witness and a testimony to somebody else.
Absolutely. I agree.
Right.
I was just so in shock, and I didn't know which. So my husband at this point, he's asking questions like, where are we going? I don't know. Like, he like, what? Like, what happened to you? Like, and I couldn't explain it without, one, I already felt crazy. So me trying to explain it to somebody else, and they like, you know what I'm saying? What happened to you? Like, like, I can't make this up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I should have had my phone record. I don't know what to tell you. Like, this happened and it shook my soul, right? So I go into work and I'm trying to have a productive day. That ain't happening. Like, it ain't happening because I'm just like, oh my goodness. So my coworker, and she's like, what's going on? It's like every time I enter anything into the computer, something that resonates with Georgia comes up, and I'm like, that's not what I said. So I'm just sitting there at this point, and I'm trying to think and piece it all together. And she's like, well, Kai, you okay? Mm-mm. So she's like, well, whatever it is, I can feel it. Like, you're shaking. And I said, no, I'm sitting still. She's like, no, you're vibrating. I promise you, I'm sitting still. You know,
Yeah.
I'm still in my flesh. When she's already picked up in the spirit, something's going on. And what we need to do right now. So after that, I had to really take a moment, gather myself, and just say okay. Because at some point, you have to say okay. You have to just give up in trying to fight something that's bigger than you, you know? So now we're here. Okay, we're moving. I tell her what's going on, and she's like, oh, that's great. Okay, well, I own things here. I don't know where I'm going, and I can't just buy another house. I'm thinking again in the flesh, in the materialistic, in the I got kids. I can't let them down. Everybody's depending on me, and we in Detroit. Like, I'm the plug here. I don't know nobody nowhere else. You know what I'm saying? So you're putting me in a space where and so then I started thinking, okay, who do I know out of state? I can move there.
But see, right then and there, you're trying to control. You're still trying to control it. You're still trying to control what he's telling you when he told you, no, I need you to have faith and I need you to go. So you're at this point now. You have to decide where to go. What happens?
So everything I thought about, or people I thought about, I can move close, we can help each other. It's always the help, right? The family knit, it was like, no. And then I kept getting Georgia. And so I said it out loud. I said, why do Georgia keep popping up on your computer? And she said, no, but I heard it's beautiful. And I'm like, girl. Like, at this point, I'm tired. I really need a nap. And I'm like, come on. Like, she's like, no, seriously. What if you going to Georgia? Like, look, I immediately called my god sister because I'm like, she's my financial person. She does my taxes. I'm like, can I afford this? Let's start here. Like, what are we doing for real? So I go on break. I call her and she's like, oh, Georgia, I heard it's beautiful. Yeah, we got that. So is it a place for me to move? She like, you moving? She was like, okay, great. You were supposed to do that 10 years ago.
Well, he wants to make sure that you understand the assignment.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's like, okay, well, he has a funny way. I was explaining this to someone. I was like, I never want to get to phase 3. Okay. Like, I want to stay out of phase 3. Because phase 1, he'll be like, hey, very nicely, try to get your attention. Hey, I'm here. What are you doing? And then we ignore him, right? And then phase 2, he comes in and he taps you on your shoulder. He's like, hey, I tried to get your attention, but you were not, you weren't doing it. And then phase 3, my business manager said that's when he picks up a brick and he's like, oh, okay, you want to learn the hard way. And so I said, my mission in life is to stay out of phase 3. Okay, I don't want to be in phase 3. Right. So he'll send people along the way, oftentimes to give you that confirmation, to move through them, the Holy Spirit. But through all of this, as I hear you talking and you're experiencing this, what does faith mean to you?
Faith is bigger than me. Faith covers me. Faith is everything that I am not. And it keeps me nestled like an infant. And as infants grow, they go through stages. And when most infants grow into toddlers and get to that touch, taste, smell, as parents, we pull them back. And I feel like that's my faith. It begins now that my ears are open and so are my eyes. It's like faith is that covering for me that you can't go nowhere without it. Even if you got a sitter, you thinking about it. Even when you know what I'm saying, you at work, you at your, even in your sleep, you got to turn over and check just to make sure it's right there and it's breathing and it's okay. And it's just like, it's everything. It's like a parent having a newborn baby. You got to make sure that on the side or the back and not on the, you don't want anything to happen to it. And that's where my faith is right now. I'm so overprotective and I'm so aware of everything that my faith has brought me through because I could be stuck. And being hard-headed, you get stuck. So that's why I moved to phase 3 very quickly. So no, you don't want to go there. Please don't go there, sis. Listen.
Yes.
You don't want it. No, ma'am.
Stay out of phase 3, guys.
Yes.
So I want to go back a little bit and talk about Snobb. How did you discover that purpose?
I was asleep.
You were sleeping.
And I dreamed about it. Yeah. Well, God gave it to me in a dream. Yeah. And I had been searching for something. And I prayed and I asked God, I said, Lord, I want something that's bigger than me, though. Take me out of it. But let me tell my story so that people will get it and know that it matters. You are not who you used to be. So don't worry about the people that's judging you on that. But know that the person that you are today walks on holy ground. That you are standing firm and flat-footed on a promise. But before you can get to that point, you got to mirror you. You got to be true to you. What really is our truth? You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you can't stomach it. It's hard. Like, I've cried so much. In Georgia, I didn't even know I could cry like that. And it's so funny. When I think about, every time I get emotional, I think about my grandfather. He said, he told me when I was little, the more you cry, the less you pee. I said... And I used to be like, that's not funny. I just fell off my bike. Like, he was saying it the most craziest times. And you'd be like... Gritty, like, I need your help. Well, you okay? You talking? I hear you. Because he would never turn to be like, oh, well, let me see. You know what I'm saying? He like, okay, yeah, you all right. I'm like, but I hurt myself. He like, okay, go wash it off. And I'm instantly crying. He like, oh, okay. Well, the more you cry, the less you gonna pee. So we ain't got to worry about tissue this month. Go ahead back out there and play, right? And I'm just like...
So what do you feel like that was a lesson to learn there?
It's okay to cry. Even in your strength. Even in whatever is going on. It's okay to release some things in order for you to gain. Because when you have to stop and use the bathroom... that means you're stopping your progress, right? Because you can be in the middle of working. Right. You got to break your sleep to get up and go to the bath. It's like you could be in the middle of a dream. You never know why or what you're doing before you have to stop and use the bathroom. So if you crying and you releasing other ways, right, you don't have to go to the bathroom, so to speak.
But you have to use it in order for you to move forward and continue doing whatever it is that you were doing. So that's how you're able to move forward. Yeah.
But the release of water is the release of water, I guess, is what I took from what he said.
It is what it is. Okay. There's that too.
Listen, he's older. He don't listen.
You know, they have these sayings that are so old school. You know what I'm saying? So you just, but it's great that you had the opportunity to to have him around, and he was able to instill those sayings. Like, and so now here you are, and you're still thinking about it. Those sayings still having impact on you.
Yeah.
How do you think faith plays a role in your purpose?
I'm still here, and it's because of my faith. Before we moved here, we got married. I got married in 2018. My husband got baby fever and went to the doctor, everything. She told me no. She told me no.
Okay.
It wasn't looking good. It wasn't possible unless, we went through a system and shots and things like, things like that. And I wasn't willing to do that. Within a year of moving here, I got pregnant with my daughter. Right?
Look at that.
Yes. In my pregnancy, though, I had complications. Never before had I had complications. So they induced me earlier than normal, 6 days, which is very dangerous. You're not supposed to do that. And then they wanted to give me a C-section, which I happily declined. And they were pressing it. Like, it was a real press for it. And I said, Lord, I've never had a C-section. And I was, at this point, I'm like, what's happening? She's like, well, both of y'all might die. I'm sorry, what did you say? So Holy Spirit said, absolutely not. And I just couldn't understand. I was like, okay, so what am I supposed to do? You're going to have her. No medication, no medication, no C-section, no anything. She came sliding on out on her shoulder. Yes, she did. So with that, she was absolutely perfect. Had no complications, no issues, which is what I prayed for. However, 2 days after having her, I end up finding out, because I left the hospital because something wasn't right. Like, I was so swollen that, like, I couldn't put on shoes, not even the little slides that they give you. I couldn't do any. I was like, I told the doctor, I said, something is wrong. She's like, oh no, all moms. I'm not a first-time mom. And I know my body, something's going on. So with that, they weren't listening. After that, my baby checked out, everything good. We packed up everything and we left. We went home that evening. Within, I think it was midnight. By the time I was actually settling down, getting ready for bed, I came out the restroom and my husband looked at me and he said, bro, you're dying. Just like that. My lips were like a purplish black. They were so dark. And I was just like, I looked like a ghost. Like, I never looked in the mirror the whole time I was in the bathroom. I took a shower, did what I had to do, and I was out. So when I went back, I was so pale and my lips were like purple. And I'm just like, but I feel like I was already feeling weird, but by the time I came back out the bathroom, he had the baby in the car seat. And he was like, just put your house shoes on, let's go. And I was like, well, just hold on a second. I should be okay till morning. By the time we even made it to come out of our gate, I couldn't breathe. So had I laid down, I would have not got back up. Right? I couldn't breathe. By the time we made it to the ER, which is 6 minutes from our house, I had clawed. It looked like a domestic violence situation. Like, I beat and clawed myself so bad because I couldn't breathe. They got me in, got me on oxygen, start running tests immediately. They were absolutely amazing. The doctor came in with the cardiologist. He said, we need to do a echo immediately. So I'm like, okay. He said, did you know you had pneumonia? I said, no. He said, okay. So they hooked me up and they looking at the ultrasound of my heart. He said, your heart is filling with fluid. Your heart is filling. You're less than 60% right now. So I'm laying here. I'm looking at this baby. And the first thing that popped into my head was, what have I done for her to remember me? Right? Who am I? What have I done that she's going to remember her mom? I said, okay. So immediately my wheels are turning. I'm like, it went from almost like a panic begging, like, Lord, I'm not finished, to a settled peace. You know what I'm saying? I was in there 2 weeks. Thank you. But so day after day, it was just like, doesn't look good. Like it's we're trying, and they're giving me antibiotic after antibiotic, and I'm just like, so what should I be doing? It's like, it's nothing you can do. And they were so kind and generous. They put me all the way at the end, so just so I could breastfeed my baby and spend as much time with her as I possibly could, because he just kept saying, I don't know what else to do. So when that second week came, I was just exhausted because the blood draws and I was just exhausted. So I lay there and I said, and it was like almost 4 a.m. and I just took the oxygen off, and nurse came in because of course it started ringing, and I said, ma'am, just give me some time. I just need to pray, and I can't do it like this. So she said, I understand. So I talked to God and I said, listen, whatever your will is for my life, I accept it. I accept it. I said, but I need you to do something for me. I need you to cover my husband. I need you to keep his mind, because I need to keep my girls together. I can't leave here knowing that they are not okay, and they gonna need their daddy just as much as he need them. So I need, if you can promise me that I won't fight no more. And I prayed until I just fell asleep. They came in the next morning. He said, well, at noon we're gonna do another scan of your heart and see, how things are going and what the next steps will be. So they came in, they did everything that they needed to do, and it was almost 5. So I didn't expect to hear anything, because of course they all go home, and they go home on time if it's not,
If it's not.
Yeah. So with that, I was like, okay, well, maybe we'll see tomorrow, but it is what it is. He walked in there at 6:42, and he said, I've looked at this every way I possibly can. He said, what did you do? I said, I'm sorry, what? And he had the most beautiful smile I ever seen. But he just couldn't stop smiling, and he was just like, what did you do? I said, I'm sorry, sir. Because actually, I ain't in the mood for games. Like, what you got for me? What's going on? You know what I'm saying? But he's like, your heart is healing itself. He said, there is no, and he showed me when I first came in versus what they took that day.
Mm-hmm.
And my heart was dark. It was so dark. Like when I first came in, versus it had this glow today, like that day. And I was like, what does that mean? He said, that's oxygen.
Wow.
He said there was no oxygen. It was so full, the fluid had rose somewhere.
Yeah.
And I was like, so what happened he was like, you tell me what happened. And I said, we don't have to talk to God about that. He said, you've been talking to him a lot, clearly, because we got some good stuff going on. And he was so excited. And the nurse came in, and I'm sitting there in shock. I'm like, oh,
You're talking about
Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can breathe now. Like,
Right.
I was, oh man, it was. So he was like, get your husband on the phone. Like, you might be going home. Like, listen. And I'm like, you're serious? He's like, yes. I was so in disbelief, but in belief, because my faith definitely was at the forefront.
It was.
But at the same time, in my life, so many bad things had happened to me. I just didn't think that good things, or I didn't recognize when good things, naturally, God-given good things happened to me. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I put myself in a mind space of, yeah, you want it, but that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, but that's the devil lying to you and telling you that you don't deserve it, that it's not gonna happen for you. But you stepped out on faith. You made that prayer. You told God. You believed in him. And as a result of that, he needed you to have that moment, that intimate moment with him.
Yeah.
So he could show you, this is what I'm capable of. So if I'm giving you this purpose, I'm giving you this, then I need you to have that faith in me all the time.
Absolutely.
So it sounds like that might have been an experience for you that might have tested your faith.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how does your faith impact the way that you show up? So when you think about the way you show up, when you go into situations that may be hard, that may be challenging, how do you think faith plays a role into how you show up in those situations?
I've been resuscitated.
Oh, that's a good one. I was not expecting.
I've been resuscitated.
He is breathing life.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
I am a living, breathing witness that God has resuscitated me
I like that.
to live a life that I had no clue existed, because I stayed in the shadow of a generational curse that was not for me.
Yeah. But it looks like you are using what he's giving you now, that resuscitation, the act 2, you're using it now to really truly walk in his purpose with this new brand. So I want to go back to the brand a little bit. What is this brand doing? What does that mean? What does Snobb mean? Like, what does the brand stand for?
Well, you have to be bold to believe. And it's bigger than us. It's notoriously, like, it's just something that that's like something that you're expecting or praying for. And then when it finally happens, you're like, because it's way bigger than what you expected.
Yeah.
Because he showed up and showed.
You might have prayed for this, but what he gave you was this, right?
Right.
Yes.
And that's what snob is to me. Because you have to be bold in order to believe something that's bigger than you. That things so much bigger than you can happen for your life.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? As a plus model, I didn't know that I even wanted to be a plus model. I just knew I needed to get to the bag to feed my babies.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? To make sure they were comfortable and didn't have to struggle growing up. You know what I'm saying? But now it's like, I like this. I like the way it feel. I like the way I look pretty. Like, you know what I'm saying?
But like you said, you believe boldly into something that you're like, I don't know how it's going to pan out. I don't have all the answers, but I'm believing boldly that it will happen.
Yes, ma'am.
Why this purpose? Why? Why use this to serve others?
We as people are very visual.
Mitchell.
So beauty is at the forefront of this generation. But it is this generation that needs God the most. So just to be able to walk into it and know that it's bigger than me, people will reach out. People will want to know more. People will gravitate. You know, that's like gravitate into something because it's sparkly and it's shiny and it's a big diamond.
Chase
right?
the shiny. That's what they say. Chase the shiny. Yes.
And then you find out, oh, okay. And it doesn't feel bad. It actually feels good to have faith. It feels good to surrender your life to something that's bigger than you.
Yeah.
To give God what he's been asking for since we were seeds in the womb.
Well, he knew that before, right? Like he knew it before. And so what do you think that this brand tells people when they see it? Like we see the words, right? We see Snobb and you talked about, you know, but what is the message that you want people to know when they see Snobb?
That you are better than what's been. That you are bold. That you are beautiful. That you are an amazing human. And it's not just for women. It's men too. You know, it's we have so many wonderful people walking this earth that just have not tapped into who they are. Because instead of looking in the mirror, they walk past it. You gotta face the mirror.
Good.
You gotta face the mirror and see how beautiful you really are.
What did the facing the mirror look like? Like, what was that like for you? Facing the mirror.
That was painful. It was very painful. I had to face some, not just things with myself. I had to face things with my children. I had to face things with my husband. I had to face things with my mother, even though she's not here. But I had to still face those things.
Well, all those relationships impact you, right? Yes. All those relationships are some way, somewhere embedded in who you are and what you do and what you become. So you just mentioned your mother, even though she may not be still here, but that relationship impacted and shaped who you are today. So facing those relationships, whether they're here or no longer here, I mean, that is rough. So how did you get through that?
A lot of prayer, a lot of talking. I had to make sure that I kept my head on, which has never been easy for me to do. Like in the beginning,
it's a good sense of awareness. You're like, listen, this is a work in progress for me. It's a growth opportunity.
Absolutely,
That's what it is.
Absolutely. And I have always said, I'm gonna go to therapy. God has been my therapist. Because when I say he took everything, I had no resources. When I moved here in 86 days, wasn't about 90, trust me.
He gave you 90, but you're like, I'm going to be an overachiever, and I'm going to do it in 86.
That's right. But even in that, I was like, okay. And old things begin to come up. And my boys are older. So it's like my boys are older. I have 3 boys. And everything comes to me in threes for the most part in my life, which I look at as the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, right? So my boys, it was like, oh, I got 3 boys. I got to be a tough mom, show no emotions, but they needed those emotions. They needed that hug. They needed those, affirmations of, and I was young. I didn't know, but I didn't have that either. So it was like, you're a Black woman. You're a Latino woman. Like, you have to, this is it. You're not a game. You're not a joke. You get your education. You do this. You do that.
So there's these expectations from all around us, society, whatever, that we feel like we're pressured to meet, right?
Absolutely.
Like you said, like you're a strong Black woman, then you're gonna raise these boys, and this is how you're gonna do it. So there's this expectation. How do you break through and say no? How do you quiet the noise?
Right.
Yes.
I've never been asked until Tasha. I've never been asked, who are you? You know what I'm saying? Anybody never asked me that before, lady. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like, is that
You
a
have
real
to take
thing?
a hard look at yourself.
And yes, but it was like these questions were being asked in silence, and then she made them loud. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
and it was like once we started, things were clicking. Like, that's what that. Oh my God, that's what. Okay, okay, I get it, yeah. Because at a point, I just put the boxing gloves down, and I was like, "All right, Jesus, what? Oh,
Right.
I'm going.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go over here.
There's,
Okay, I'm going."
there's nothing else I could do. Right. Like, yeah, this is it.
Because it was like, who you gonna call?
Yeah.
I had no distractions. I had complete silence, and I was like, and then it was these things. Well, you made me feel like this because you came to the games, but you weren't. You were always at work.
Yeah.
You were work and school, and I'm like, that don't count for nothing.
Yeah.
Like, to a child, no. Stop looking for a way out or an excuse when just own it. Own it.
So you started reflecting, thinking about those situations, those experiences that have molded you, shaped you to be where you are today, and then owning it. Owning your part in it.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
You can't place blame on something that you create.
Yes.
And we all have our challenges. We all have our past histories and generational curses that we have to
work through, break,
right.
all those things. Yes.
But when you pick it up, because my mama did it, because my daddy did it.
Well, that's what we saw, right? Life imitates art. You know what I'm saying? So we are a product of our environment. So if that's what we see, that's what we know, that's what we're going to be.
But is it right?
It's not. That's a good question. It's not. And so hopefully we can get to that point as we're walking in faith. We're able to have the spirit of discernment. The Holy Spirit comes in and it's able to help us break out of those, like what you said, those generational curses, those habits, those situations. But yeah, no, it's not a pretty process. It's not. Yeah. As you think about all of this, right? So now you have this beautiful brand, a Snobb. Where do you want to take this brand? Like, what's next for you? Where do you take the brand?
Global. Oh. Internationally.
Wow. Okay.
I just want to reach as many people as I possibly can on a feel-good journey of life. It's one thing to experience life. It's another thing to live life.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Because most of the time, our lives have been living us.
Well, they're an accumulation of experiences, right?
Yeah.
But have you really lived?
Right. And that it's an opportunity. We wait at the chance for opportunities when someone else is giving them to us, not when God is giving them to us. We have to open ourselves to allow the overflow to happen, so we're not so dependent on others. But we can say, I can take my time and appreciate this versus having to rush because I'm on somebody else's time.
Wow. So that's amazing. That's such an awesome story. You took faith to a whole nother level. You was just like, yeah, no, this is, and what I like about the story is that you're like, listen, I'm not perfect. I'm still trying to figure it out. It's a work in progress. That's what we all are, right? It's a journey. It's a journey, but it's so inspiring what you're doing, how you're taking this brand. That's beautiful. Love the title, by the way. Love it. I think it's genius. But we are about to go into a segment of the show that's called Off the Dome segment. Okay. This segment, I have some cards in my hand. You're going to pick a card, and I will read the question, and you will have 60 seconds to answer the question. You don't pick the question picks you.
That's right.
Look at that. Okay, so pick a card. That one? Okay, I got it. Okay. If you could make a movie about your life, who would play your character?
Taraji
Henson? Yeah. I love her.
I do too.
Why her?
Because she put everything she got into it. Everything she got. And she make it her own. And she go for it.
Yep. That is awesome. Okay, so what would be the title of the movie? It's a movie about your life. What would be the title?
My life and what I was told it to be.
Oh, why that?
Because for so long I lived in what I was told that I was supposed to be, who I was supposed to be, sit up straight, don't do this, don't do that. But I was never told that it's okay to just be you too. Whatever you're feeling, whatever God gives you, it's okay to be that person.
There you have it. There you have it. But Taraj, okay, so we're gonna have a chit chat with Taraj. Maybe she'll do like some pro bono work or something. I don't know. We'll make it work. I have my agent talk to her agent. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and being vulnerable in that moment and showing how difficult it was, what a challenge it was. Because when we're one of the things, I feel like one of the things about purpose is that for the past few years, as I've been walking on this journey to purpose, it's been all peaches and cream. It's beautiful. Purpose is so nice and it's cute and you can put it in a box and put a bow on it. And it's like, why doesn't everybody do this? What's wrong with y'all? And it's like, what we don't oftentimes talk about is that ugly moment, that part of that journey where he's pushing you to grow, where he's pushing you to be uncomfortable, and you're just kind of like, what the heck is this? Like, I don't know if I'm made out for this, but you are. He made you for this.
Absolutely.
He built you for this. And so that's why I always talk about community and how important the community that you surround yourself with, that those individuals that are coming alongside your journey, because when you are on that purpose journey, you need those individuals when you're down in a valley. You need those individuals to come and help you along, so that you can continue. Because it's a journey that is not for the faint of heart.
Say that.
Yes. So I thank you so much for your vulnerability and for coming on and sharing your story, because somebody out there needs to hear that story and they needed to hear from you.
Amen.
Not from me or anybody else, but they needed to hear from you. And so I thank you for sharing that story, because it takes boldness, like you say, to share that story. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I so
Okay, no,
appreciate
you could just stay. I'll slide on over because these mics, they be attacking people.
I know, right?
Oh, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed our show today. Keep the conversation going. Leave a comment and share with your friends. We would love to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, there's purpose in your story.